the NFL is back. Through week one, we had some surprising results and some predictable results. Some teams are now more excited about their season, and others are already planning to get that number one pick in next year's draft. Kyle and I sat down to discuss it all and get into the stories from the first week of the 2025 NFL season. Let's get into it. Week one NFL in the books. Football's back. Thursday night's back. Friday night's back. We're back watching football. It was a really interesting week. Ravens Bills was one of the more fun American football watching experiences that I have ever had. Like I watched every play and was glued to my screen and loved it. And then, I mean, apart from that, I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff that happened. New rookies, people who maybe were expected to be better than they looked. Yeah, football's back. What was your kind of your major takeaway? Are you excited? Did you grow up watching football? Like, is this like, marked on your calendar, week
Right.
one starts here kind of thing?
Not marked on my calendar, but I was sat on Sunday for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally agree that Bills Ravens was like an awesome football game. It was like it's gonna maybe be like one of the best games of the season.
Yeah.
Vikings Bears was also a great football game. It was exciting, down to the
A lot of different
wire.
reasons. The conflict there was different than the Ravens Bills
Sure.
greatness, but I agree with you that it was
It
a great
was
one.
an exciting football game to watch the end of.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
um, Yeah, the games on Sundays, the games on Sunday, I thought were hit or miss, to be honest. There's a lot of growing pains, like, first week, teams are figuring themselves out, a lot of that. I watched, like, Browns-Bengals game from start to finish, and then
Mhm.
other than that, I was mainly just checking scores. I do think it's good for the sport of football that the Sunday night game and the Monday night game were, like, exciting, close games. I think
Totally.
that's always just, like, good, especially week 1. We're, like, picking up new fans, like, it's perfect time to do it.
Yeah, it would be a really interesting job figuring out the programming of like first, what teams play other teams when. That's, I mean, I'm sure that's a whole like math equation. And then also just a simple job of like, who do we want to put on the primetime games? Like
Mhm.
that would be, it would be interesting. And then if that game sucks, do you feel bad? You obviously can't control everything. I don't know. I was thinking about like, it was huge that the big primetime games were pretty fun. And even
Right.
Thursday night football, Eagles Cowboys had some drama. And then the Friday night Chargers Chiefs, I wouldn't say it was the most exciting, but I don't know. The Chargers look pretty good, and the Chiefs,
Mhm.
they're always like interesting to watch because maybe they're going to find a win somehow.
For sure, and I think, like, as an American red-blooded football fan, it's nice seeing the Chiefs lose.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're a huge Chiefs fan, this video might not be the most friendly for you. Um, uh,
Sure.
I'll just put it that way. So we
Um
wanted to go
mhm.
through. Oh, sorry. Finish.
Nope, that's all I was gonna say. I was gonna say let's spend a couple minutes maybe talking about, some of the more interesting results from this past weekend, and then jump into maybe some of our thoughts about the upcoming weeks, upcoming season. Try not
Yeah.
to get too overzealous with making some conclusions about teams. I mean, like this team, they're out. This team, they're
Yeah.
Super Bowl contenders. Because I think it could be easy to do that. So we'll try not to fall down
The,
that
the,
rabbit
the
hole.
whole point of week one stuff is overreactions or underreactions, getting something, getting not reacting enough to something, and we're just gonna have to embrace that. Yeah, so I think the game that I thought was just the most interesting uh, was Steelers Jets, and I was tuned into it a little bit purely because of like the pre-game storyline, and it was a small one, but it was just the whole Aaron Rodgers Justin Fields thing, and Aaron Rodgers coming from the Jets, Justin Fields spending time on the Steelers, and then switching spots basically, and there was the whole offseason thing of like where these were some of the teams that didn't have a franchise quarterback and clearly wanted one, and them along with Sam Darnold were some of the kind of big offseason like these are the guys who could move, but also, I mean, even the biggest Sam Darnold guys are going to admit like those three quarterbacks aren't the top tiers. And so it was kind of going to be interesting to see, were these guys just going to be middling? Were they going to have some like extra edge in their game because they're playing their old teams? There's like a revenge element. Um, so it was one of those games that, on paper, probably the average American was like Steelers Jets. Why would I watch that? What I feel like that probably is the Jets role most of the time is, unless you're a Jets fan, at least in the era, it's like that's not one you're picking. But it was super fun. And then it actually ended up being a great on the field football game, and both quarterbacks looked great. The ball was flying through the air. Um, the defenses both looked shoddy, which honestly is good time for a fun football game. And so I think that was the one that like stuck out to me the most. That was like a non primetime game.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I mean, it's funny. Like I think about Aaron Rodgers as like Hall of Fame, one of the best quarterbacks of our time. I'm like, man, he had a great game. Like that's shocking when it really just like should not be shocking. Aaron Rodgers is still the man. If he when he locks in and when like I think he's got that fight that Tom Brady spirit of
Sure.
like if he feels like he's been disrespected, he's going to go out there and throw for 250 yards and throw 4 touchdowns, and that's what we saw. And obviously, I mean, I don't know if you saw the post game interview that Aaron Rodgers gave, and I forget his exact words, but it was something along the lines of like he was just really happy to be able to beat the New York Jets franchise.
Yeah, I think he even said the entire New York Jets organization, which like I'm sure some random medical staff guy who had never even touched Aaron Rodgers when he was on the team was like, "What?
Hmm.
Why is he? Why is he calling me out here?" But yeah, he had a little bit of that edge to him, and yeah, I mean, I think some of the reasonable detractors for Rodgers said like he wants to be Brady, like he wants to be the guy who plays till he's in his 40s and still can win and still can throw the ball. But I think reasonably a lot of people started to doubt him, and I'm not saying he's fully back. I am also probably still a doubter, but this game was a data point for Aaron Rodgers is still here.
For sure, for sure. So my most interesting, or I guess surprising result
Yeah,
was Green Bay over the Lions. At least I think I definitely have some bias here. I am a huge Dan Campbell truther. Like you see the clips of him like
yeah,
post game, just like getting so into it. He's like the most true player turned coach, I feel.
yeah. The
Um,
the warrior leader of
yeah.
Detroit. Yeah,
Yep, I thought they were great last year. Obviously, they didn't make it as far as they had hoped, and so I just thought coming into the season they were going to have a chip on their shoulder. Really going to come after it. And I don't know. I think the Packers are good, but they're not great. They proved me wrong. Yeah, Lions defense looked not great, and so yeah, that was my like shocking result. I didn't really get to catch a ton of the game, but nonetheless, I mean, pretty cool to see for the Packers.
yeah. Lambeau's a hard place to play, so it's if the Packers win at Lambeau, it's never the most surprising thing. I feel like it's just one
Sure.
of those stadiums that's it's a tough one to play at. But that said, the Lions looked pretty gasless. They got beat pretty well. The Packers defense looked great too. Like I'm not going to attribute it all just to the Lions not looking great, but yeah.
Yeah.
My other kind of I think most surprising result was Colts Dolphins. The Dolphins were well, two halves of it. The Dolphins were dire, and we'll get into them actually a little bit later when we kind of give out some of the other Week One awards. But the Colts, I think I saw somewhere that they scored on every single drive, and they only had 7 drives, which I guess means that they were just taking long drives and never turning over the ball. And
Hmm.
if you had made me power rank all the teams that if you told me that stat happened in Week One, and maybe we'll rank all the teams that happened to, Colts probably would have been like 30th or 31st on my list. Like
Hmm.
I, I, it was surprising. There's just no other way to put it. Daniel Jones looked efficient. All his passes looked good. He had time in the pocket the whole game. Um, and I do think part of that can be attributed to the Dolphins, but that was a big surprising one for me.
No,
Um,
dude, Daniel Jones, I thought like was totally going to be off the radar this season, and
yeah,
I still kind of do. We're not jumping to any conclusions, but
exactly.
week one, I agree. I mean, he looked like the quarterback they're going to be sticking with.
Which is crazy. I mean, he like 3 weeks ago, I wasn't even sure if he was starting, and
Yeah.
a year ago he was playing on the Giants, and New York Giants fans wanted to run him out of the city because he looked so bad. So shout out to Danny Dimes. Um, alrighty, our next kind of award we're going to give out is most predictable game. So Kyle, who or most predictable result? What was the most predictable thing that happened for you Week One?
Sure. Most predictable thing that happened for me was the Bills Ravens game being awesome and a
Yeah,
really
I
close,
love that.
good fought game. Like you were saying earlier, like, it's one of those things where whoever at the NFL and with the TV stations and they're choosing like which games to put at prime time, it's like, all right, Sunday night football, that I don't know the numbers, but it obviously, that's one that gets a ton of views. Got to have a good matchup for that one. And yeah, it was awesome. Great game. That was probably my most predictable result. Was it being a good game? My most predictable actual final score was the Browns losing to the Bengals.
Sure.
I was shocked by how good the Browns looked, but not shocked that they lost the game. Even though they lost the game in pretty shocking manner, they had like 3 chances within the last few minutes to score. There was an extra point that was missed, a like
Yeah.
35-yard chip field goal that was missed. Either of those things would have saved us. And then we had Joe Flacco, who threw 2 picks, and both of those picks were like the weird, awkward, like hits your receiver in the hands, takes a weird bounce. Opposing team gets an interception that way. Like they don't really feel like bad throws; it just feels like tough luck.
Yeah.
And the game was still so close, but of course, the Browns still lost. The 0-16 dream is still alive.
That's right. Yeah, some
So,
franchises love to find ways to lose, and the Browns seem to be one of those. Yeah.
they certainly do. And my one other takeaway was I think Myles Garrett is maybe going to have his best season ever. He looked unbelievable. I think that's partially because the Bengals defensive or offensive line was looked trash, and Myles Garrett was just like going through 2-3 guys every play. It felt like giving Joe Burrow no time to think. It reminded me, as a Cleveland sports fan, of like LeBron when he was taking teams like deep into the playoffs in the 2000s. And it's just like, wow, that guy should be on the Lakers. And it feels like Myles Garrett should be on a like Super Bowl contending team every single year. It's just like funny, that parallel. And of course it's in Cleveland. Yeah.
At least he's getting paid. At least he got his bag. But yeah, no, he was tearing people up, and playing the Bengals O line, a lot of people are going to look good, but I'm not taking anything away from Myles Garrett. Absolutely, he's a freak in a lot of ways. Same. I actually did have the same one as you. Maybe tennis was on the mind because the U.S. Open just kind of finished, but thinking about like those 2 athletes who are kind of above everyone else, and in tennis it's more stark, I'll admit, Sinner Alcaraz, and it's an individual sport, so there's differences. But in the NFL at this point, it really just feels like Josh Allen and Lamar are head and shoulders above everybody. It is amazing how different the quarterback position looks now in 2025 than it did even 10 years ago. Like, there's still some of those guys who are like pure passers. We even just got talking about Aaron Rodgers, but Josh Allen and Lamar are so mobile and so strong and such great passers at the same time. And, I'm not going to put them up against some of the best passers of all time, but they are extremely competent at it. And neither of them have like, these wide receivers that are lighting up the league. And yet they're scoring and bringing their teams to these just like constantly scoring points. And the game was so exciting. Josh Allen had that, victory march the last 8 minutes or whatever it was when they were down 15. And it just felt inevitable, not even inevitable that the Ravens lose, but inevitable that like something exciting is happening here. It was just so cool. And I can't say I would have predicted that the game was as good as it was, but that the game was good and we got to see 2 great athletes compete, like that wasn't surprising. Like that's the level we expect from those 2 guys.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah. I'm sorry. All right. Switching gears a little bit. Now let's look a little bit more into future next games, rest of the season. What team do you think gained the most hype after this first week?
I think the team that gained the most hype was, and I mentioned them already a little bit, was the New York Jets. So Justin Fields, I think, looked a lot better and a lot sharper than expected, especially in the passing. He's always been, an athletic guy, but the passes look good. But I think the key person that was defined the Jets offense previously, or wanted to define the Jets offense previously, was Breece Hall, the running back.
Mhm.
And last year, I don't think he was injured, but like he looked slower and just didn't have the juice. And this game he did. I mean, it's as simple as that. There was some talk in the offseason that like he might even be like losing his job to Braylon Allen, I think his name is. Apologies, I'm sure the fantasy players know. But Brees Hall looked super sharp. He was moving the ball. He was breaking tackles. Like he had all the juice that he had previously. And for the Jets, like they have a great receiver in Garrett Wilson. If Justin Fields can throw and they have a running option, it's like that. That's a great three. I'm not saying the Jets are going to do great, but uh, they gained a ton of hope and a ton of like hype for me after week 1.
Yeah, it is Braylon Allen.
Cool.
He had 6 carries and a touchdown for the game. I think they
Okay.
used him mainly just like at the goal line.
Okay.
Just sort of like punch it through kind of guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, Brees Hall looks too good to be using just in those situations. So it makes sense.
Right. Also, did you mention Garrett Wilson?
I just mentioned briefly that like
Yeah.
they have a good receiver. I'm a Garrett Wilson believer, but I
Me
was
too.
worried about Justin
Yep.
Fields passing. And then it's like,
Right.
if Justin Fields can pass and they have the run game and Justin Fields is always a threat if he's holding the ball, like it's a recipe for success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Just for I have a few teams that I was kind of in between picking for this
Yeah.
one for teams that have the most hype going into the rest of the season. I think yeah, just for giggles, I'm gonna pick the Steelers.
Nice. Nice.
Mainly as a AFC North guy, I follow the AFC North the closest. They're just always good. Like a year like this,
Sure.
they've got this old quarterback. You wouldn't expect much of them. Like, they're probably gonna have a bad season, and then it's like they just look good. Their best player is Mike Tomlin. It seems like every year he's just like he makes it happen for them.
Sure.
He makes the right pickups, and I mean, yeah, Jalen Warren is consistent. I thought he was good last year. He looks good this year. Yeah, I think that they've got a lot to look forward to in Pittsburgh with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did it concern you at all? One of the hallmark, in my mind, the Steelers are often a grind games out, get the defense going,
Yep.
Keep the score low kind of thing. Did it worry you at all? Not that you were rooting for the Steelers, but did it worry you at all as a Steelers believer that the defense? I mean, I don't remember exactly how many points, but I think they gave up at least 25 points to the Jets.
Yeah, it's 30 points.
30. Yeah. Okay.
32. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I mean, yeah, definitely. But at the end of the day, like they won the game. And if you're performing that well on offense, and I don't know if maybe the Jets just also didn't look great on defense. But yeah, like I mean, I'm not a Steelers believer per se, but I think like going into the first week of football, I thought like they are not going to be good. And now I'm thinking they're have wild card potential, might string together 8-9 wins maybe.
The Steelers live in that 8, 9, 10 range.
Wild card warriors.
Yeah, for most of my adult life, that feels like pencil them in, and you'll be probably right more than you're wrong.
Yeah. The other team I have, which this one I feel more strongly about believing in for the rest of the season, is the Vikings. I think the Vikings, for whatever reason, they were getting like a lot of hate preseason, which I kind of get. You get rid of Darnold, you're bringing in untested JJ McCarthy, who you like have no information about, and it feels like in the game of American football, so much is tied to your quarterback. It's always felt like that, and it really feels like that, especially now. Yeah, it was a shaky first half, which was actually all that I watched of the game, like that night, and then it was bedtime for me. But then I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, they did it. And I like look at McCarthy had a great second half. He settled in. I think like if you're a Vikings fan, you watch that first half, you're like, oh brother, like we are in for a long season. And then to come out of that game 1-0, it's like, holy cow, okay, maybe we've got something here.
It was definitely the first half. It was definitely he looked out of his depth, and like very much out of his depth. Like you put a high school quarterback who had never seen this kind of competition in an NFL game. Like the pick that he threw, it was like one of those throws that you would throw against a much lesser defense, and in the NFL, a guy's just going to take the step and catch the ball, or the defender's going to catch the ball. But you're totally right. He settled in, ran for a touchdown, which I think is a big deal if he's going to be a running threat. I really don't think he was much of one in college, and so if the Vikings can kind of utilize that, that's a big deal too.
Yeah, and I mean, they're like surrounded by what I would say is like a Super Bowl caliber team. I mean, they had a great season last year. Like Justin
Hmm.
Jefferson, Aaron Jones, even like guys like Adam Thielen. I think like
Yeah.
they're guys that are like great locker room guys for him to have. Like guys that have won in the past, and like some more veteran older guys in the locker room that are like, I don't know. I'm a Vikings believer. I'll say it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, on the flip side, the team that lost the most hype for me, the team that I had some hype for and lost it was the Houston Texans after week one. I uh I watched a good bit of the Texans Rams game, and the Texans looked extremely flat. Uh Stroud, he obviously had the great rookie year, and his sophomore year was a step down, and I just didn't look like he took a step up. And the Rams are tough opponents. I fully admit that, but Nico Collins didn't get going. I know the Houston's running back situation right now is a little bit just like iffy. Uh, Joe Mixon isn't playing, and they're trying to figure out who's gonna get the most touches while he's gone. And so Houston isn't in like the most perfect spot right now. They keep switching around their O line, and it's a whole thing. But watching them play gave me it did not give me any belief in them. They looked shaky, flat. The ball was not flying. It was just like it felt like by the end of the game, I mean the game was still close. It was like 14-9, and by the end of the game,
Hmm.
I had no.
No faith.
They just needed I think just one touchdown, and I just didn't even believe in them. And then they fumbled in the last drive, and that was it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good pick. I think CJ Stroud is like a competent, solid quarterback that could like really lead a team deep. So I saw him when he was at Ohio State. I thought the same thing. He was great
Yeah,
there. Like you were saying, his rookie season played awesome, and then watching this game, he had no time ever. Like
yeah.
the pocket was just collapsing so quickly. Um, every play it felt like, and so they've got to figure something out there. I don't think I think they've still got some life in them. Like I think they really do have a potential. Nick Chubb looks good. He's
It's
back,
true.
which is
Sure.
great as a Nick Chubb believer. I'm happy for that. Happy for him. Really, after like gosh, one of like the worst injuries I've seen in recent history. It's awesome to have him back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I didn't think like the Rams played that good either, which is a bit of a like that's not where you want to be losing games, and your opponent doesn't even look like they're nearly what they could be playing like. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather lose week one in a shootout than lose week one a defensive grind where my team, who is relatively healthy, all things considered, is not just looks dead. Like that feels like the bad case scenario for week one. And I know offenses take time to rev up. So maybe that's just the situation here, and they'll kind of reclaim it. But speaking of Stroud and the kind of sophomore slump, our next kind of award, if you want to call it, this isn't really an award. It's not because you don't want it, but the candidate for the sophomore slump. Sophomore slump is one of those things that, especially in the NFL, I feel like is a huge deal. Stroud was the biggest deal or the biggest example of a slump last year. And so this year, honestly, last year was a great rookie class, and so I'm very interested to see how they all, grow into their roles as second and further year guys. But the guy who looked the worst compared to his rookie year for me was Bo Nix, the Broncos quarterback. Um, yeah, turned the ball over 3 times. 2 of them were interceptions. And I think the most important thing to me was he didn't like run that much. That was one of the most exciting parts about him this rookie year. I think he was always a pretty competent passer. And the passing this game, it didn't look terrible. The Broncos ended up winning, but I don't really think they can. That was, I think, a more function of their defense, and Tennessee didn't do a ton of damage. Yeah, Bo Nix, I was a little disappointed with.
That's fine. Gosh, I don't. Hard to pick a guy that is the leader of his team and won.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I will say I am a Cam Ward truther. I thought like Cam
Yeah,
Ward looked
yeah.
far and away like the better quarterback that game. Dude, his receivers could not catch anything. Like
He was hitting him in
he
the
was
hands.
hitting him in the hands. He does rifle the ball.
It's true.
It's coming out with smoke. But
That
yeah.
that fits a lot of. Have you heard about all the Cam Ward like leading the team stuff and how much of like a dog he is?
Mhm.
Have you been hearing about this? It
Yep.
totally makes sense to me that
Yep.
the guy who's whatever, waking up at 3 a.m. to go to practice and screaming at his teammates is also then rifling the ball at them like
Yeah.
way too fast, or
Yeah.
arguably way too fast. Anyway, I just that fits.
Yeah. But I will say, yeah, Bo Nix kind of, to be honest, like impressed me last year. I thought he was really ended up, having a pretty good rookie season. So yeah, from that standpoint, I do think he will. I don't think he's going to perform as well.
Yeah,
Certainly does not feel that way. Yeah. So for me, like looking back last year, there was a lot of really good rookies. I thought that really impressed me. Jaden
yeah.
Daniels was obviously like amazing. Brett Bowers with the
Brock
Raiders
Bowers.
is
Yeah,
yep is awesome. And then Bo Nix, like we talked about. So I think like there's room for guys to fall. But I
sure.
don't really want to pick the guys that I felt like played good last year, and then I don't know. We don't have enough data. Like 1 week, I don't want to pick one of the guys that I felt like maybe want to have as good of a season. For me, I think I'm going to pick Michael Penix Jr. as my sophomore
Okay.
slump candidate. I I don't know. I just for some reason I watch him play and I don't really get that like exciting feeling like oh boy like he's gonna really motivate his team to win. I don't think he has like that super power or like I guess that stardom maybe would be the word to
Sure.
use here. Like I think that's important honestly, especially as a quarterback. And I'm afraid he's just gonna like fall fall into the depths of like mid quarterback and then they're gonna be swapping out and playing some backups and doing that sort of gambit. Um, that's just sort of
Yeah.
where I'm at with the Falcons and I don't remember exactly how they finished last year, but it wasn't, you know, wasn't
Not
awesome.
spectacular. Yeah.
Not spectacular, and so, like, with that, like, it's the clock starts really, turning,
Yeah.
when you're an organization and, you have this franchise guy that you're really supporting. As a Browns fan, that we go through that every couple of years where we draft some guy and then it's like, "All right, we didn't have a great season, but give him one more chance, and then this next season he'll turn it around." Like, with Baker Mayfield, it felt like that, which looking back on that now, it's like, "Oh, man, we should
That's
have
a
kept
tough
him."
one.
But,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's tons of guys you go back and back, yeah, and so so it just feels like one of those sort of situations where I don't know. I like him. I really love Michael Penix Jr. Like as a guy, he seems awesome. Like off the field, he seems great. But unfortunately,
Doesn't happen.
I'm not believing in the Falcons now.
I mean, I can't sit here and say I watch much of the Falcons game, but the fact that by far the most exciting and like hype giving moment of that game was Bijan Robinson running for truly a crazy 50-yard something touchdown. And I mean, and he looked so much faster than everybody around him. It was one of those
Yep.
awesome football moments where it's like this guy looks like he's on fast forward and everybody else looks like he's there on normal speed. Um, and Michael Penix Jr. did almost nothing in that play. I mean,
Right.
I think he probably passed it to him and then let him go.
Right, and
So yeah,
that's the other
overshadowed.
thing. Sorry to cut you off, but like with Bijan, like he's that guy, and like he's so good, and it feels like
Yeah.
the organization's gonna move like in that direction where it's gonna be a run first type of offense, and like he'll just be overshadowed, and yeah.
All right. Next kind of big question is, what is the biggest still open question that you kind of had going from the off season that week one did not answer for you? What was that kind of big open question for you?
Sure. Well, fireworks. It's
I don't know where
crazy.
that came from.
Gosh. Okay. For me, the team with like still the biggest question mark around them is the Bengals. You look at their roster, you look at the players they have, the numbers they put up on offense. You're like,
Mhm.
wow, this team, Super Bowl caliber team. They've been there before. Like these guys have what it takes. And then you watch the Week 1 game. They should have lost to arguably the worst team in the league, and like yeah, you win the game, but you feel terrible about it. If you're a fan, if you're a player, if you're a player, you're probably like, all right, we won, whatever.
Sure.
But their defense looked terrible. You're letting Miles Garrett walk all over you, and like I don't really see that as um yeah, it's obviously not a good sign. And so that's the team that I think has the biggest question mark around them still.
Yeah. No. Totally. I exactly that. Sometimes I'll look at Bengals highlights on offense and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest team in the NFL. How do they not win all the time? And then you watch them actually play, and it's not that good. So yeah, a lot of open questions. I think this will be a tester of a season. Uh, Similar tester of a season. One of the biggest open questions to me going in was what's going on with the Lions. They lost so many of their coaches. They obviously had an amazing season last year, and they kept most of their players, but their whole coaching staff is different, and that's especially in American football, just like that's a dangerous place to be as a team. Uh, Different offensive coordinator, different defensive coordinator, and especially after week one, none of those questions are really answered unless you want to conclude that the Lions are screwed for the season. That's not really where I'm at. I think they have too much talent and were too good last year for that to be the case. And so I'm still like, how are the Lions going to turn it around? What is the offense going to look like against the Packers? I think they only had one. There's like this one stat called explosive run, which is basically like, yeah, you can figure out what it is. And they only had one run in the whole game. And last year they were averaging like at least three a game, and a lot of games like four or five. Jamar Gibbs was given the ball multiple times and ran for like 2 yards at a time. Like they just had no space. And the Packers defense is good, but the offense, it didn't look like it was flowing at all. They were averaging like, or they kept getting like negative yards on all their. It felt like all they could do was like throw it to the side, and then they'd get tackled, and that was the offense. And so I'm nervous about the Lions. Like I said, I think they're too much quality there to like write them off, but a lot of questions still.
Yep, Lions they're another one of those organizations that like traditionally are poor or like don't perform
Yep.
well, and it's been cool to see them like be a really solid contender these last few years. But I'm with you. It's a bit of a question mark. Don't know if I'm not believing yet.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Our last major award looking ahead is who's the rookie from this year's class that you saw him play this week and you don't need any more convincing. You are just a believer now
All in.
that they're going to be good. Who is that for you?
Yeah. So for me, my guy is Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ohio State receiver, with the Bucks now, had the game-winning touchdown in his first game. Like, come on,
I
how can you
know.
not be a believer in that? And I think like having Baker as your quarterback is great. He's that perfect type of leader. He's got that Mamba mentality. And so, yeah, I really am excited for his future. I loved him when he was at Ohio State as well. I thought he was going to be an awesome receiver, and sure enough, he looks great, and I'm believing.
Yeah, it seems like Baker trusts him, which is a big deal, especially when he's competing for targets with Mike Evans. And like uh, the fact that Egbuka got the touchdown pass in the most important moment and not the veteran receiver who is who has proven himself for like 10 seasons in a row, like that is a big deal. And he's clearly got talent. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. It's a great pick. Um, you know, I had two here. The first one I'll touch on really briefly because we already talked about him, but Cam Ward, fully a Cam Ward believer. I think he's awesome. He obviously, the game wasn't great. This is kind of like the opposite of the Bo Nix thing, where it's like Bo Nix still won the game, didn't do anything super bad, and I'm out. And Cam Ward lost the game to Bo Nix, maybe didn't even do anything super great, and I am still fully in. But yeah.
Sorry, I just want to jump in really quick with that though, because like with Bo Nix, I feel like the Broncos have a good team surrounding him, defensively for sure,
Yeah.
offensively fine. Whereas the Titans are poor. Like
Yeah. Yeah. True.
they're like a sad franchise, and I totally agree with you though. Like it is it's such a difference that you see there. Cam Ward looks great on a bad team. Bo Nix doesn't look great on a good team. Is the way I see it.
No, totally. Yeah, I think Cam Ward will have, a great career barring anything crazy happening. And then, but the one I really wanted to dial in to was Tyler Warren, the Colts tight end. I talked already about like how impressed I was by the Colts, and a big part of that was Tyler Warren. They threw to him 9 times, which is a ton for a rookie tight end in his first game, and he caught it 7 times. And maybe it's just because this is like an archetype of a player that we have seen a lot recently, like the big tight end, white guy with long hair. Like he just looks like he's already an NFL player, like
Yeah.
George Kittle and Hawkinson on the Vikings, and some guys from like the 2010s that like fit that. Like he just fits. He looks like some guy who's already been in the NFL for like 5 years. And yeah, he was moving well. There was one catch where he caught the ball and like got past some guys with like really good footwork, and he's a big dude. So I think footwork is not one of the things that like you are necessarily looking to him for, but he's got it. So yeah, fully. And I just he just looks like he's an NFL player already, and I don't need to see anything more.
Yeah, no, I thought Tyler Warren looks good. It's funny that like with Brock Bowers last year putting up like insane numbers for a
Yeah.
tight end,
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be hard for him to overshadow what Bowers did last year. Like he kind of, I think at least that Brock Bowers is like redefining what the tight end position looks like, where he'll have like
Yes.
nine completions, like he'll get 9 receptions in a game and for 100 and something yards, and you're like, what in the world? It's
Yeah,
like
and he's running like
Gronkowski
wide
kind of
receiver
numbers.
routes. Yeah.
He's running wide receiver routes where, yeah. So I think Tyler Warren has the ability to be like that guy this year, but it's not going to mean as much because Brock Bowers did it last year and might do it again this year. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The long-haired white guy is an archetype of the tight end.
It is. It's like, okay, yeah, he's an NFL player, and that is what I mean. I'm not even saying he's going to be spectacular. I just like he's going to have a good career. Like that.
Yeah.
I don't need any more convincing. Yeah. All right, this was good. I'm very excited for the NFL season. It was a fun week 1. Lots of things to kind of keep track of, and good luck to your Browns, Kyle. They'll need
Oof. Gosh, I hope so. See you on Sunday.
it. Yeah. All right.